We'll go to the start of the Fremantle-Essendon game yesterday at the MCG, Lord. I don't think anyone expected the Bombers to beat the Dockers, but no one expected them to start as abysmally as they did.
No, it was wet and it was dreary conditions, but they scored here. Shea Bolton, he started at the centre bounce and they score a goal in the first 28 seconds of the game and gee, it sucked the life out of the stadium because the crowd's just yelling, have a go, have a go. That's just the type of performance it was against Essendon. And I look at Zach Merrett started on Frederick. He was nowhere near him on the wing. Zach Merrett started on the wing. So I just thought defensively, this is the next goal. Defensively, Damo, they were poor. Their senior players aren't really competing as hard as they need to be competing. And then, again, for half-time, it was 10 goals, 6 to 1 goal 8. So, again, that's Merrett's man out there on the wing, just all by himself. So I just think the lack of effort that's why you call it a crisis.
And when you say you could hear the crowd talk, I mean, you literally did because you were there. Yeah. And you mentioned you could hear it because this was the lowest crowd for an Essendon match inside the past 35 years, 25,100 only. And
there was a lot of people, Damo, at half-time. They weren't asking for pass-outs to this game. They were actually just leaving at half-time. So that's how disappointed a lot of the fans were in the performance. And they've been an amazing supporter base. But I could see so many were just fed up with that again yesterday.
We had the caveat on their performance in the second half of last year on the injuries that they were sustaining the whole year. It was hard to win matches of football with that. But we've now had 10 matches this year. The greatest miracle of all time was them beating Melbourne, which we'll touch on in a moment, in Gather Round this year. That's the only win they've had. There's only been one win in the past 24 now.
Yeah, and now it's a big fortnight for them, Damo. It's Richmond on Friday night. So Richmond, we're going to talk to Josh in a second about where they're at injury-wise. I'd hate to think what happens in terms of for Brad Scott if they are to lose to Richmond, because I just think that's a win that they've just got to pencil in and win, and that will just show them where they're at both internally and externally as a club.
And then after that, to take it another week ahead of that, they've got West Coast the week after. So the fortnight upcoming is as crucial for Brad Scott as any time of his at Essendon.
Yeah, yes, no one expected them to beat Fremantle yesterday, but it was the way they played, which was so disappointing in that first half. But again, you just have to pencil in Friday night, and then West Coast in Perth is not easy.
No.
But they're wins you just got to tick off as a club.
Well, West Coast in Perth wasn't easy for the GWS last night, Lordo. We saw them kick the last 4 goals of the game, the Eagles. There was some, I reckon, heroes in this context of this season and this club at the moment. Jake Waterman there taking a big hanger. I thought Bailey Williams' last quarter and Harley Reid for the entire game, they stood up big time last night to get the 3rd win of their season. Yeah,
their pressure was off the charts. And speaking of crowds who have been through a lot, it's the Eagles crowd. They're unbelievable how they just keep turning up. But they stood up. That man Dersma, what a first season he's having. I think he's nearly going to be getting in front with the rising star.
This tackle there by Murdoch late after a few moments for him where he gave away a double 50.
Yeah, it was a great game, really. It was a really good high-intensity game of football, and well done to the Eagles. It's been a tough year for them, and they found a way to win.
So much narrative around Harley Reid. He's invested, Lordo, isn't he? And I thought the way he just wanted and willed himself to win yesterday. Again, he had moments, as he often does, and he tried a few things that didn't work, but he went right to the very end of this. And the numbers you can see on screen there, as we look at the damage he did in the game, their career best, or their career highs for him in this 3rd particular season. And it meant something to him, the result of this game.
Yeah, he and Clayton Oliver went at it for a lot of the day. And it's just the quality of his disposal. He's breaking of the line, 788 metres game. This would have been one of the goals of the season if he kicked it. But as I said, he got super fit. And now he was the match winner and then the best player on the ground.
Melbourne, what a story they've already produced. 7 wins, 3 losses from their 10 matches. They're talking up the big moments, Lordo. They're playing the big moments. They're embracing the moments. So their coach, Stephen King, post-match after a big win against Hawthorn.
I said from day one I wanted to be a team that could kick 100 points every game and challenge the opposition. And I hope we're playing a brand of footy that people, even neutrals, would come and watch and go, gee, that's exciting to watch and that's an attractive brand of footy. And so from my perspective, I want to be box office. I want our club to play on the big stage. I want to play in those games.
I love the embracing of that phrase, Lordo, publicly, box office. I mean, look at this. Harvey Langford just having another brilliant game of footy, kicking brilliant goals of footy. What they did in the last 20 minutes of this game was pretty special.
Yeah, we had Kay Chandler on the Sunday Footy Show yesterday. He just said that he's one of the more authentic people he's ever met, Stephen King, and that's what he is. And he's been a breath of fresh air for that football club. They're playing with no fear. They've got a senior core group who are loving what they're playing under, and they're a young group of kids who they're not fearing anybody, and they went after Hawthorn and they blew Hawthorn away, and they're kicking 110, 120 points a week. So they have been the story of the season, and they can win a final. They could potentially win 2 finals. I think that's what they're capable of doing now.
So you're talking prelim finals at the very least?
Yeah, well, I think because of their wins. Their wins aren't just wins. It's Brisbane, it's Gold Coast, it's now Hawthorn. So they wouldn't be fearing too many sides there.
The Western Bulldogs, who have fallen off a cliff, have lost 5 of their past 6 matches, having won the opening 4 of the season. And within that storyline, we've seen a massive drop-off of some players. Now, Tom Liberatore is injured currently, but prior to that injury, he had dropped off. Matt Kennedy injured again on the weekend, but Ed Richards is playing, but not performing anywhere near his extraordinary 2025 season. And Marcus Bontempelli's numbers are holding up, but he too is playing injured as they deal with a season that is without Tim English, Darcy and O'Donnell as well. Yeah,
and then the Liberatore loss has been huge in this period. So they've dropped from 1st to 10th in the space of 6 weeks. And what else has dropped off is their skill level. So, English and also Darcy shouldn't be contributing to skill level, but it's these players that we just showed up there. Like Richards has dropped off badly. Fraser, I'm not sure what has happened to him. It's like the 3rd-year blues for Fraser with the way he's going. Riley West's season. Rory Lobb has dropped off. So there's just too many of them that, as you said, too much has been left to Bontempelli, and he can't win games alone. And now Bailey Williams, who's an important player, is out as well. So things going from bad to worse for the Bulldogs. Yeah,
they just don't have the answer. And it was only a narrow win against Port Adelaide, Lordo, which probably was fortunate that it went their way in that 1 win from the past 6. So who are they going to beat in their next 4 as you take a look at that list?
I don't know. Well, Collingwood's the one that gives them the best chance. But, I just think their skill level has dropped off dramatically, which is always was a big strength of the Western Bulldogs.
Now, the Sydney Swans, they were nearly brought down by Collingwood. Nearly. Callum Mills, captain, spoke of how the Pies worked their way through.
They essentially just left everyone on the boundary, and they just didn't leave them. And they didn't man them up. So we can go both ways. We can use the corridor, but then we can also go around them. So it just took us a while. We're a pretty happy corridor team, aren't we? So we just kept forcing it a bit of them at the start, and then we just realised we could go around them a bit.
So Callum Mills just said we're a corridor team, and so they're the best side in it, or they have been for most of the year. So Collingwood just said you can have as many kicks wide as you want, but we're just going to protect the corridor at all costs. So I wanted to show what rattled them. Collingwood should have won this game. They were 33 points up, missed shots, and then should have taken it to around the 40, 50. So this is what Mills is talking about. Normally, players would get drawn out to that, and then that would open up holes for Sydney through the corridor. But Collingwood said, we're not going to give you that. We are just going to own the inside. Look at these players that normally get hit up. Collingwood said, we are not giving you that. So these players out here would normally use, and then another one would be hit here, and they often go inside and outside.
So what you're saying here with this freeze, this is extraordinary discipline from Collingwood.
Discipline from Collingwood to say, hey, you can have as many of these out here, we're going to stop this one. And I don't think Sydney knew what to do through that period, and it rattled Dean Cox and the coaching staff, so we let it play out. These guys are calling for... See, they don't go. Side bottom doesn't go. He's saying, I'm going to get you blokes, because we don't care. You can have as many out there, and you can have as many out there as you want. And then they pressed up really well. And this rattled Sydney, and they suddenly were 33 points down. You got to bring great pressure to that, which Collingwood did. Again, you can see them. Rosas will often draw you out. They said, no, I'm not going with you. We're just going to keep pressing up and owning the corridor on you. And then suddenly Blakey says, well, I'm going to try some stuff now. I'm going to try and still go for it. But then Collingwood, look at this, 5v1. Heaney drops that mark, and then they were off to the races. But look at this, 44-12. He misses this goal, Damo. So it should have been 50-12, 38 points, and nearly game over. So I think the rest of the competition could have watched what
That's the blueprint.
That is the blueprint. Just corridor, and punish them on the way back.